Yeni proje. Hello everyone. Today we are gonna present you the third session of the CodeRunner series, and today's topic is object storage in AWS, and we have Fatih.
Hello.
And you can watch our previous sessions in our YouTube channel, PeakUp's YouTube channel, and today's topic is about S3, Simple Storage Services of AWS. And let me show you my presentation. And today's agenda is we will have a brief introduction of S3. What is S3? What we can do as a developer with this service?
Why do we use these services?
Yeah. And then there are 4 classes, storage classes for S3, and we will introduce you these storage classes. We have one more class which is published, released in last 1 year. And what is the key features and what are the basic use cases in our projects? We're gonna discuss this use cases. And the last part of the session, we will show you a demo how to program using .NET code with S3. And this CodeRunner sessions is about is for Microsoft developers, how to use AWS as a backend service, or how to use the platform services in AWS as a Microsoft developer using our .NET Core web applications or web API applications or our console applications, etc. And so let's go. S3 is a simple storage service, so you can basically store any formatted data and access them from anywhere using internet.
Yeah.
And it is very simple. It's not like a relational database. You can put a string to the storage. You can put any image, any document.
It's like a drive, actually.
Yeah, it's like a drive, and access using CLI or most usingly an API.
Yeah.
And it is very scalable object storage. It has a very simple web service access. You just give a key, put some value into and relating this key, and now you can access this value using your key. And there is a container for your object storage named bucket. So you should create a bucket first, and then put your keys into this bucket. So, for example, you can, not megabytes, not gigabytes, you can store petabytes of data in this object storage. And we're gonna talk the use cases, by the way, in the next slides. Maybe we can explain more deeper.
Okay.
And we have, I said we have 4 storage classes. And you see the 3 of them, and I'm going to add the 4th one. And the first one is standard, and this is your frequently access objects. So if you develop a web application and you put your images, you need to save your images in an object storage. You can choose these storage classes. And this is the default one. If you don't say any of the class. This is the default one.
Yeah.
So this is the most used
yeah.
storage classes.
Actually, if you don't need to access these files frequently, you can use the infrequent access type. These type of storage bases is actually for the let's say you don't need that file to be accessed frequently, but you have to reach it sometimes.
Maybe
So, yeah.
At the start of the month, when you need to report some data, and other than the at start of the month, you don't use it. You can choose this class.
Yeah, infrequent access is for that type of files. Let's say.
So we use the standard most of time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you use it your active data. So the third one.
Yeah, it's Amazon Glacier. You can use this type of storage if you let's say you have to keep that file for about 5 years for some reason. Maybe it's legal type of stuff. And you don't need to access these files frequently. You can put these files to there and pay much less.
For example, you have a streaming IoT data, and you use it on the fly. Maybe you analyze it and you get some summaries, and then use this calculations in your database maybe, and then you want to store it as a raw data for more than 3 years or for the more 5 years. You can use Amazon Glacier.
Maybe you'll develop another type of report for your application, and you need to use those data at that time. So it's completely selectable if you want to access. Let me rephrase. If you want to access these type of files frequently, use the standard. Less frequently, use the infrequent access. But if you rarely need those data, you can use the Amazon Glacier.
Yeah. So the parameter is when you need to access this data. There is a fourth one. It's released last year, and this is called standard and one zone. Let me explain it. And this 3 storage classes AWS distributes all this object storage into 3 availability zone. They're containing in a different regions and different power. They have different power supplies. So if one availability zone goes down, or unfortunately there's an earthquake or a flood, one availability zone down and the other 2 is up, you can access your data still. But if you don't need that data, or if you have the data another storage or another cloud storage, or if you have it on your on-premise system and just wanna use it as a backup or backups backup, you can choose just one availability zone. For what? For lower the price. By the way, if when you choose active data to archive data, you pay less. When you choose archive data is pricing tier is lower than the active data. So one availability zone classes is the lower price. So storage classes like this, we have to choose one of this according to our needs, and default was standard. We can use this table to investigate the other parameters. Standard infrequent access, and the Amazon Glacier. And let's have a look at the differences. For example, minimum storage durations is there is no minimum storage duration in the standard, but if you choose Amazon Glacier, you have to put it in 90 days. And
there's actually one important thing here. First, byte latency. When you use standard or infrequent access standard, you can access your data in milliseconds. But if you use the Amazon Glacier, the type of data is actually stored somewhere else.
Yeah, it took time to prepare to serve us.
Because of that, the access time for these type of files reaches about minutes to maybe hours. So you have to really think about that if you need those files immediately, or you can't wait for that.
And these are the overview of the S3 properties. S3 gives us versions. So when we changed our data in our object storage, S3 versions for us, and we can go back, we can take any of the version of the data. And there is a logging mechanism, so who, when, who access data, who wrote this data, when wrote this data, we can see these logs anytime. And there is it supports encryption, by the way. And I'm going to explain it later, this encryption side. But S3, one of the most important feature of the S3 is you pay as you go,
of course,
as platform services provide us. So requester, it's important it's important to how many requests, how many access this data.
Because you're not only paying for the data state there. When you access these datas, you also pay for the access. How much frequent is that will change the payment of how much. So.
And these are our management overview. There is an analytic in here. It gives us some reports and how many times this storage accessed, or it's how many megabytes or gigabytes it is created a network, and other type of metrics S3 provides us. And by the way, any of the classes you can create a replication. So if you create this object storage in Ohio, for example, Ohio region, and if you can replicate it in another region as per your business needs. So this is one of the advantages of S3 provides us.
Maybe you want to use this service as a CDN for some reason, you can do that. So we're not recommending that. You can definitely do that.
Let's talk about the use cases.
Let's say the first one. It's basically backup and archiving, as we said before. Amazon Glacier is really suited for that. So you can put your legal type of data. You have to save for about let's say 5 years. You can put these data in your Amazon S3, Amazon Glacier, or if you want to back up your data and still reach them for about maybe 1 month or 2 months, 3 months, you can use the standard or infrequent access. You can actually configure the S3 to maybe if you put the data now and after 1 month or 2 months, you can automatically change the Amazon can automatically change the configuration classes and make it infrequent access maybe.
Yeah, so we migrate our data from one class to another class, and we can create this rule in S3. It's amazing.
Yeah, and maybe after 1 year, you can change the class to Amazon Glacier and forget about that data. Reach when you need to. So.
As you said, we can use it as a static website hosting.
That one, I forgot about that. We can actually put our static websites to Amazon S3 and access them through the S3. So you don't have to have a backend server. If you don't have a backend server or your application just needs the HTTP, HTML and CSS and JavaScript only has them, you can use the S3 as a host.
Great.
So
it provides us a faster way to serve our static files into web.
Actually, there's a scenario you can.
So this, by the way, its pricing is very
low. So other hosting services will really exceed the pricing side. Let me say there's actually a really new scenario you can use. You create your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and put those to S3 maybe, and use the serverless maybe the Lambda to be your backend server. So you actually don't really host any type of backend server, just the Lambda, and when you request the backend site, your job is done, but you don't consistently hosting any type of API or whatever. So it's a good way to create your applications. Maybe.
Yeah, by the way, it's another use cases, big data analytics. And if you have a big data and you use it, store it in your object storage, and you can access them, you can use S3 as a big data object storage. So this AWS provides us to query this data.
S3 Select.
I'm gonna talk about S3 Select. And you can query this data in object storage without extracting all of the object. And just what you need, query it using basic SQL queries, and then take just unique data. For example, if you have a CSV file in your object storage, or if you have a JSON file in your object storage, you can query these files without extracting all of the
using any type of any type of maybe querying service, maybe a relational database, or MySQL or Cassandra, etc. You can directly use the S3's service.
It's maybe another scenario for the big data scientists. And you can also use object storage as a disaster recovery. And you can use this S3 for a data protection purposes, or just replication purposes, or just backup purposes. And so there are a lot of use cases, as we see. So as a developer, let's jump into how to access this object storage, how to create a container for our object storage called bucket, and then how to put data into this bucket, and then let's verify that we can access this data from the AWS console. And let's jump into our demo. In the presentation, you see the common operation that we can do using .NET code. Create bucket, list bucket, write an object, read an object, and delete it or list the objects. So in this demo, we will create a bucket and then write a bucket. So we use Visual Studio 2017 for the demo purposes. And in our as you can watch our previous sessions, we assume we have some assumptions here. For example, you created a profile, you have an IAM user in your AWS console.
You installed AWS Explorer in your Visual Studio.
Yeah, you installed AWS SDK here, and then
if you don't have those requirements, you can watch the previous sessions and jump right back.
Yeah. And let's open the in the menu, view, under the view menu, AWS Explorer, and we see our profile. Oh, it's opening. And I see my profile here. Yep. And my profile name is AWS sample user, and maybe you can't you see here, it is because it is small, I can't zoom in here right now. And my region is US East 2, second one, Ohio. So I use this information to map my region and profile in my code. So there is an ASP.NET Forms application for the sake of the sample, and let me show you the design of the page. It's a very simple page, and sorry for the bad design. There is a text box here. We're gonna write our newly creating bucket's name here, and when I click the Create Bucket button, I'm gonna write my code how to create this bucket in the Amazon AWS object storage. So we need some configuration first. The first one is right-click to the project in the Solution Explorer and open the Manage NuGet Packages. And we are gonna install
AWS SDK.
AWS SDK.S3. So let me browse it. AWS SDK.S3. So this provides us the library
for these S3 services, basically listing buckets, creating buckets, deleting them, putting objects in those buckets, or deleting them, updating them, etc.
It is installed. Let's jump into our backend code to add the namespaces that we needed. Let me zoom it a little bit. And I need to add first Amazon runtime namespaces, and the second one is Amazon.s3 namespace, and the third one is Amazon.s3.model. So now I'm ready to write my code under the create bucket click method. And the first one is we need to create a client object, and this is called Amazon S3 client. Amazon S3 client. Let's instantiate it. And then we need to create a bucket, and there is a method called putBucket here, and we need to give a name for the bucket. So I'm gonna take it from the text box, and this text box name takes the bucket name.
Yep.
As I mentioned, this is an ASP.NET form application, so I can take it easily from the text box name.
We actually have to do one more thing. That is the configuring the AWS profile name in our web conf.
Yeah, I want to show it as I get the error.
Okay,
and
okay.
then put it in the web config. Okay. And let's write a message for the user. The bucket is created. Let's just put this message on top of the page. So let's run.
And get the error.
Get the error, yeah. Because we didn't configure how to access AWS account, which profile is used, behind the profile which user is.
Actually, we might not get an error.
Yeah, maybe because of your default configuration.
Yeah,
let's see. Let's see. We already tell all the story in our previous session, because AWS uses an order to which account to use. So it first of all it looks the configuration file when your SDK is installed in your application into your machine. So in this configuration,
it will look for the default AWS profile. And
it
will find that.
And default region. And if AWS runtime couldn't find this default configuration file, it looks the web config or app config in our project, and there is an app. There should be an app settings, and there should be two keys. And the third option is to store it in the AWS store. So this is the recommended one, as we mentioned in our previous sessions. So in this demo, we choose S3, and this is our text box. Let's write it the name of the bucket that we create. AWS sample bucket. And let's click the create button.
It's doing its thing. So
we got an error
because there's no region endpoint configured. So
the error said no region endpoint or service URL configured. So runtime couldn't find the default configuration file. So
it actually finds the default configuration, but doesn't know which region. It used.
So now I'm gonna say the runtime, tell the runtime which region and which profile to use. Open the Solution Explorer, navigate to web config, and under the configuration, open an app settings, and under the app settings, I'm gonna add two
AWS profile name.
The first one is AWS profile name. Second,
AWS must be uppercase.
region name. Okay, is it uppercase?
Yeah, it's uppercase. Profile and name
Yeah.
starts with the uppercase.
Like this.
And maybe the AWS region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Region name, would it be correct? Yeah. The keys
Like
are
that.
true now. In this machine, the profile name is AWS
Sample user.
and my region is US East 2.
Yeah.
So
Like that.
now AWS SDK's runtime should look into this config to determine which account to use access to object storage and which region. Let's try. After creating this bucket, we need to verify it if this is really created in the AWS object storage. So I wrote the same name, AWS sample bucket, and then click the create bucket button. We got another one. The requested bucket name is not available. It's a good error.
Yeah.
Let me repeat the error. Maybe you can't see. The requested bucket name is not available, and the bucket namespace is shared by all users of the system. Please select a different name and try again.
Yeah.
So the bucket name that we choose should be globally unique.
Yeah. It's already available.
So I choose a name which is taken before somebody else. So let me make it more specific. Maybe I can add the AWS sample bucket, and maybe I can add at the end of the word PeakUp.
That will do. I guess.
PeakUp. Yeah, AWS sample bucket of PeakUp. Create bucket. Yeah, we see the message, the bucket is created. The second important note here is the bucket name should be all lowercase. If we use any uppercase, it shouldn't be accepted by the runtime.
Because this name is actually used in the URL, so that explains the unicality and the lowercase.
Let's verify that we and see we actually create this bucket. And navigate to the AWS console. Is it? Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe I open it from the private session because I should be already signed in.
Okay.
There should be another one.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
Yes.
Let me refresh it. I think it was a private session because of it asking me sign in. Yeah. Now we navigate to S3 under the storage and under the services menu and click the S3. And we need to see the bucket list.
Yes.
There it is. Let me zoom in. Yeah, and we see the bucket name AWS sample bucket of PeakUp. And its access level is not public, and just only users who have permissions can access this bucket. Right now, its region is US East 2, and we see the date created. So, the first step of our demo is successfully completed. Let's jump into the second step. We need to put some data into this bucket. This is a container, this bucket is a container for our objects that we want to store. So I need to put some data into this bucket. And for this purpose, I'm going to design again. And you see another two text boxes. And this text boxes, one of these text boxes is key name, and the other one is for the data that we store. It is our value. And we have another button here, and this value is contented called is upload data. So when I click the upload data, I'm gonna put this data into this bucket using this key.
Yeah.
So let's double click the upload data button. And
Hopefully see here. Code behind.
CS code. Yeah. I think I couldn't do that.
Well, maybe right click and view code.
Yeah,
There's
no.
no.
Let me try again.
Maybe we can
Yeah, I can write it down.
write manually.
Yeah. Why not? And
There's a button.
yeah, this is my data, my button. So let's write here on click and my
Create new events.
create new event. I can use it data. Upload data. Click and let's go to the CS file. We should see the newly created.
But there's none, so
Hey, where did you create it?
maybe save that file and
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna copy the method name.
create that
Create it manually.
manually
Yeah.
because Visual Studio doesn't work right now.
We can write it down.
Oh,
Yeah, I forgot it is running. Yeah, I stopped my project, so I'm sorry, Visual Studio. I'm sorry. Okay.
delete that.
No, I don't believe that. I'm gonna write it down because I'm the guilty one. Protected, void, and message name.
It gets an object, sender, and network. Yeah, that's
Object sender and event parts E. Yep. So my code behind is ready. We need to write my code to put some data. So we need to create another client, Amazon S3 client here. Maybe we can share the object on a class level, but in this demo,
not gonna do that.
yeah, it doesn't matter. And then we need to create another object to put the data into the object storage, and its name is put object request.
Model names in the Amazon libraries is basically really um, explains what it is.
Yeah.
Put object request.
It's-
So
Yeah, it follows the REST API's standards.
standards.
Name, yeah. So we're gonna
configure our request.
we're gonna give our key and bucket name and value into this request object. The first one is bucket name, so we get it from the txt bucket name in text, and the other one is my key, and my key is the txt key name, and the last one is my value. So I'm gonna put my value to the content body. This is tricky because the default content type is text.
Yeah.
But we can give another content types using the content type property. So we can put some JSON file or image file, some documents. So if your data is other than the text, you should assign it to the content type property.
It's actually every file type has a MIME type for the web stuff. It's assigning the content type in the HTTP request actually.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with that, you can get this.
And my request is ready now.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to put this request object into the my client. So my method is put object, and this put object asks me to put object request object. So it is my request, and let's write it down and another message to the screen. The data is uploaded.
Alright.
Let's build my project and wait to see my data under my buckets. Yeah, it is built successfully. Run the project, and we need to provide the data that my screen is asking me. I want to choose the same bucket name. I want to create again AWS sample bucket of PeakUp. The key name can be my key, and the data might be, this is the sample data in my object storage. And let's click upload data. Yeah, we see a successful message. The data is uploaded on the left corner of the page. So we need to verify it in our AWS console. Let's navigate there. So here is my bucket name. I clicked my bucket, and let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, and I see the key in my bucket. It's my key, and I see the last modified and size it.
Yeah.
And we already said that it is default classes standard, and we can change it later. So let's click the my key. Yes, and
what's inside?
let's see what's inside. Yeah, this is the This is one of the favorite sentences of my son. Let's open the surprise egg and let's see what's inside. And yeah, let me click the download button and let's see what's inside. So the txt file is here. Let me bring it to the screen. Yeah, this is the sample data in my object storage. Yeah, because of the default content type is text, and it is opened in the notepad.
Yeah, as a
So let me show you some other stuff in the screen. And this object storage is private by default.
Yeah.
So we can make it public here and then access this data using this link. Let's click this link and we're gonna see a message is access denied. And then when I went back to my storage and make it public,
it actually makes the that key public.
Just that key.
Yeah.
It's also good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I click the make public button, and then after that, I open the link. We can see the data. Yeah.
Yep.
This is the sample data in my object storage. And if you don't make it public, you can access this data using the API and using the permissions, access key secrets, and you can just give permissions to who needs it.
Yeah.
And when we go to the properties, we see a storage class.
Standard. Yeah.
And this is standard, and when I click the standard, I can see the other options, standard and standard infrequent access, reduced redundancy, we said it is Glacier, and then one zone infrequent access. This is the different one from the others. And I want to show you the metadata. There is one metadata here. This is the default one, content type text plain, and we can change it or add another metadata. Encoding, language, type, expires. So you can consume it from the web.
It is actually behaving like a web server.
Yeah, and so we can see the permissions that we give for my key and value, and right now it is publicly accessed from everyone.
Because we click the make public button.
Yeah, but we can give only limited access for any account here.
Yeah.
This is the select the AWS. In AWS, we can use the S3 select to query our CSV or JSON file using SQL queries. And by the way, it supports if your file is gzips, compressed file, you can still query it. It's still perfect. And
so
I want to show it, and I'm eager to use this feature in my next project.
Yep. Yeah. Me too.
And so I think we're done here. Yeah. And we tried to give you a brief overview for the S3 simple storage service of AWS.
How to use the libraries to reach out the S3 services, creating a bucket, deleting a bucket, or putting objects inside, and that's it.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching us. We will be online next Friday again. See you later.
See you.